morning, everyone. Welcome to the Butte County Association of Governments Board of Directors meeting of February 27, 2025. Please join me in a pledge to the flag of our nation. Ready? Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Board Member Connolly?
Here.
Board Member Jersey?
Here.
Board Member Ritter? Here. Board Member Kimmelshue?
Here.
Board Member Teeter? Board Member Arnold?
Say here.
Teeter? Yes. Oh. Board Member Goldstein? Here. Board Member Calderon?
Here.
Board Member Pittman?
Here.
Board Member Lazon?
Here. Okay, welcome to our new board members. Next up is election of chair and vice chair. I'll take nominations for chair.
I make the motion that go ahead. Supervisor Connolly remain as chair. He's done an outstanding job.
Is there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? I'm supposed to do it. Nominations are closed. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next up is vice chair. Any volunteers?
I'll motion that, Councilmember Goldstein for vice chair.
I'll second that. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Nominations are closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Yeah.
Next up, we have a consent agenda. Anybody on the committee up here like to pull anything from the consent agenda? Board of Directors? Any public, pull anything from the consent agenda? I'll entertain a motion. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next up, we have action item number 6, approval of federal safety performance measures. Brian.
This morning, board. This is an annual item which we bring in February of each year, which is the federal safety performance measure. Federal transportation legislation requires states and MPOs BCAG their safety performance measures in coordination with local governments. August 2024, Caltrans and the MPOs established statewide safety targets for fatalities and serious injuries, which have been targets are a carryover of those adopted last year, but they are based on a trend line which reflects current fatalities and serious injuries. State highway safety plan. Included for the BCAG's information is the attachment parts in which cover fatalities, serious injuries, and non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. For reference, there's also 2 charts by the rate of fatalities. That's really serves as a way so you can compare regions throughout the state at that rate. Unfortunately, fatalities and serious injuries trend is kind of continuing to increase. Motorized trend on the other hand. Those board members that have been here in the past year, you know that 2021 we've declined from that. To have a little fun. With this, the MPOs can either, within 180 days of Caltrans, the MPOs can either share our own individual targets or agree to plan and program projects by state targets. That's what each MPO has done the past several years. So staff's recommendation at this time is to agree and plan program projects so that they contribute to the statewide target. I've also included a link to a listing of our projects in the plan. That chart, this is the majority of projects in the projects have some primary or so with that, any questions?
Any comments from the board? Any public comment on this matter? Anything online?
No.
Close public comment, wishes of the board.
Approve the state performance, safety targets.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing, discontinuation of Route 52, Chico Airport Express, Amy.
Good morning, board. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, I would like to request that the board open the public hearing for public comments on this issue. And then I'll go ahead, after the conclusion, I'll go ahead.
Okay. Anybody from the public like to speak on the discontinuation of Route 52? Are you here about Route 52, sir? Close public hearing.
Thank you, board. So we as a team discussed, and made plans to discontinue this route. We opened a 60-day public comment period for this discontinuation. We received 2 comments, which are included in the attachment for this item, 1 email and 1 Facebook comment. So the public comment period also includes today's public hearing. For our policy, a public hearing must be held when a reduction in service times or hours of more than 25% is proposed. Elimination of this entire route does meet that threshold. Staff are recommending that this be changed due to low ridership. The current average daily ridership for this route is 4 to 7 passengers per day. With the expectation of microtransit being implemented later this year, this route area would actually be covered with a microtransit zone in Chico in that area. Additionally, the fare is the same as the current fixed route fare, $2 per ride within that microtransit zone. So that is the basic information on that. And it would be, if approved today, then it would go into effect on the 1st of March.
Questions or comments by the board? Any public comment on this matter? Close public comment, wishes of the board.
Approve the discontinuation of Route 52 effective Saturday, March 1st. Second.
Put your phone number on Facebook.
I'll get 7 phone calls.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Items for information, number 8, Duke Regional Transit second quarter report, Victoria.
Good morning, board. I'm here presenting the second quarter report for the fiscal year. Everything seems to be as expected with this quarter. We had our fares to budget are all within expectations of what we expected to receive. And this is the last quarter before we implemented the fare increase in January. So you can see our fare rex coverage is holding at 11.3% for the fixed route. And that is below that 15.6% blended fare box ratio that we discussed previously. Ridership is up in 3 of the 4 modes. It is down in rural paratransit, and 13% seems like a very large number, but when you're talking about only a few thousand riders per quarter, it is small changes can look significant on this scale. ridership, you can see with the trend lines is still trending up. It's just trending up at a slower rate than it was previously. We do expect these ebbs and flows and, with ridership, these peaks and valleys. And Q2 is notoriously, it has a very, very high and then also a very low. But everything is within normal parameters, I would say. I'm happy to take any questions you have about the data as presented.
Questions or comments by board members? Public comment? Close public comment. Thank you very much. Done a good job. Nobody's bothering you, questioning you. Butte Regional Transit System revisions and updates. Andy.
Morning, board. So over the last few months, I've been talking about trying to do with transit and all the changes. Summarize a little bit about what's going on with it. As a helpful list for you, but also for me, up with all the things that we are doing. A lot of changes that we're expecting to roll out in the next 24 months or so, a whole period of time. A lot of it starts with zero emissions buses, conversion to pursuing hydrogen for zero emissions, and then all the changes within the system itself. So stops, routing revisions, new technologies to how people pay. All those things rolled into a new marketing scheme, a new color scheme. Some way to move transit in a more effective, efficient that serves the people better, and utilizes some of the new types of systems that people are using. So that's microtransit, non-emergency, which is similar but kind of an extension of the dial-a-ride service for the elderly from point. So I just wanted to, and I'll go through these briefly, and if anyone has any particular questions about either one of them, I'll go through them and then just at the end. And so the most obvious upfront thing happening are stop upgrades. So replacement, repair, removal of stops that are there but are not being used for whatever reason or another. Sometimes we quit servicing them. We have roughly 500 stops in the county. We've had a couple of studies in the past that indicate you don't really need 500 stops to your system to deliver your needs and the demands of the system. Somewhere around 300 to 350 stops. Some of them are really close to each other. So there's this effort that we're looking at right now. This is just the first run where we go to existing stops that are being used, replacing plexiglass walls that get broken with stainless steel type of a mesh that is more durable. Stops that have been around for a while, shelters that have been around for a while that are coming down out. And take shelters that are sitting somewhere that maybe a stop that we haven't been servicing, take where we are servicing. So it's a real, very wide-ranging, comprehensive effort that Lamar, who one of our shelters, is helping us with. Part of that is the stop up in Paradise. We're doing it at Neal and Skyway, approachment permit for that. And the other stop at Walter and Highway that Woodhill Lumber donate time and materials for to upgrade and surface a little bit. So those types of things are happening as well. So you may see stops that are coming out, going in, but just in general, that's going to be underway and that's going to be ongoing. Paradise Transit Center got its final paving this week. Just a couple of things left on the small structures there to finish, and then we'll be able to open it and run our routes through there within a couple of weeks. So that'll be nice to have that running. The technology things. The next two items are really just technology use or additions to the system. So air transit management software, change how the clients make it a little better, hopefully easier, how clients can reserve rides, how they see how they can request rides, and how on our end we can manage them a little. So that's a hopefully an upgrade to the system for them. Move towards cash on the buses, not that we won't take donations on the bus, but, no cash on the buses, so it's a validator type system. By passes, you still will be able to get passes at various outlets that we have with cash, if that's what your preference is. But for the most part, updating our ticketing technology just to be a little bit more efficient for people at the same time. Rebranded marketing of new services, that's gonna be a 3-year plan. We're kind of coming to the end of what our plan is going to be, and then the next thing will be some type of that. So over the next 6 to 8, 12 months, we're gonna be having a new color scheme come out, so the buses will get wrapped a little bit differently, or look a little bit differently. There'll be some online work with that, so our websites, all the mobile apps, all that stuff will tie in together. The consultant we have is bringing forth some really, stuff. I didn't expect there to be such an option and range of ideas but they're really coming forward with some good ideas. So we hope to get that going. Route revisions and incorporation of new and additional services. So talked a little bit about removing of routes and stops that aren't serving us. I think it's pretty safe that we could go right out and remove 20% of our stops right off the top. Aren't being served or are underperforming or could be behind with those stops. So that's really our first effort, along with bringing over some of these stops that need to even just look better.
Can I ask you a question about
Sure.
that, please?
Yep.
So if it's not a stop that isn't being used, but is just underperforming, how far away is the next stop to that?
So, a good example, this is a great example, on Rio Lindo in Chico, by the, right in front of the Quest, lab. There is that stop right there, and then just down the street at Vitalent Blood Source, there are 2 stops across from each other. Those are about, how far away do we think those are, Victoria? About
Less than 2 blocks?
like 600 to 700 feet, maybe. We had a transient person in the stop at the Quest that simply just could not move along. Fortunately for us, that stop was really underperforming. I think how many riders did we have in a year? Less than 100 riders in a year versus the Vitalent stops are really well occupied. So in that particular case, we were able to remove that stop entirely off the system. Still are able to serve the public with the other stops at Vitalent. So it's situations like that we're looking at.
I just was wanting to make sure, we weren't talking about half a mile or a mile.
Right.
For someone to
Yep.
get.
And that's exactly what we're looking at, is like, okay, well, if this stop is really where's the next closest one? And is it reasonable that can serve to meet the need? If not, then maybe we don't remove it. Kind of on a case-by-case basis.
It should be noted that we're looking at stops in both directions. It's not just how close is this to Carmack and Rio Lindo, it's also how close is it to the next bus stop on the other side. Because we do recognize that people could be coming from either direction in order to reach.
I appreciate you bringing that up, Tammy. Is there like a standard for distance that you would consider removing a stop? Okay,
Not
because
really.
in that example, I would be a little concerned. It makes sense, it sounds like, if there's people per year to remove a stop.
Right.
But I'm curious to make sure that we have good standards for with mobility issues. Like, very likely.
And that's really part of the complication with all of this, is having a system, efficient as you can be, in a largely rural area, still serve those patients. So it's gonna be an ongoing effort.
And, sorry,
I just wanted to say the distance, there's no mandated distance, by law or anything like that, or any regulation. The generally accepted distance in transit systems is between a quarter to a half a mile between stops.
sounds good. And while we're in a pause, I thought I'd ask about the previous thing, upgrading stops. That sounds great. Is there sorry, I couldn't download all of the attachments. This might have been in there, but is there like a map or like where those are located?
We don't have a publicly available one, but if you wanted to touch bases with us after this meeting, we're happy to go
Okay,
over
sounds
our
great,
plan.
just because I've heard some and would tell you anything else.
Next item is intercity paratransit and dial-a-ride expansion. So, right now, we've been doing this for quite some time. You need a dial-a-ride, if you need a ride from one jurisdiction to the other, let's say Paradise to Orville, that is a fairly common route. You have to go through the fixed route system. That is not optimal. So we're gonna start working on delivering intercity paratransit. All right, you wanna go to Chico, Orville, or go Paradise, Orville, Ridley? That you can get that right. Again, these are, some of these things that we're doing are not necessarily, unmet needs, that we do the unmet needs process. These are just things that we should be doing, if they're affordable. And so, we're working on that. Another recent development is the Feather Flyer, the Golden Feather Flyer. We have been in contact with city staff from time to time over the years about that system. It has been the history that the city of Gridley prefers to keep that within their jurisdiction and their operation. And we've been in contact with your staff, your management staff there. We're looking, and ultimately this is up to the responsibility of the cities. It's the city's responsibility to decide if you really want to do this. But it looks like this concern of being able to deliver the service of the city of Gridley, that maybe we could deliver that service better on their behalf, at least serve that population. So we have been talking to staff. We are prepared to do it. We have been thinking about it, not just recently, but for any time that it comes up. We think about, can we do this? And we can. We think we can do it. We think we can provide same service that is happening in the city of Gridley. The funding really is not going to change in terms of, because they're a claimant. So those funds that operate that system would still be available. It's just we would be operating that system on their behalf. Part of that is also that's a dial-a-ride on-demand type system. So we're prepared to do that, and we've been working with staff on that might look like. I know that they are working on wanting to do some expansion, so we're providing them support with some mapping and some data to help them do that. But I wanted all jurisdictions to know that a possibility with the city of Gridley, and that we're prepared to do it on your behalf, but it's also.
I personally love Feather Flyer. In my years of service, the city of Gridley as a behavioral health counselor, it was very instrumental in providing transportation to some of my clients. I know it has limited resources. So moving into V-Line, I would assume that the service will expand, maybe to the difficult to access communities, such as the farm labor housing. Some of these areas are in need of transportation. I know V-Line has a stop there, but it's not a regular stop, and it's only a couple of times a day. So it would be, I would probably agree with the transit as long as the services are extended, if it's possible.
And that's really what we need to be, we're talking about with the staff is, what services are you currently delivering? Where are they going? Make sure that if we're gonna do that, that same service needs to be available to them. And if there is additional needs we can do,
and I gotta say, for the record, this surprise to me. I haven't been notified of this arrangement. I will definitely talk to the
Yeah, and
administrator.
that's why I wanted to bring it up to the entire board, you know, with the city here, just, and I don't want to put the city staff in a difficult position.
Well, it is, I understand, but I think, well, let me put it this way, I would really like to be involved in the process. If this was.
The follow-up will be that we contact your staff and let you know. Let them know that you're. Again, only if it's at the direction and need of the city.
Well, I do know that personally that the service will probably improve. I know that. But the improvement also includes the, reaching out to the communities that have a difficult time accessing services in the city. And I know that's beyond the city limits, but as a council member, I advocate for the farm workers for areas, you know, really only industry is agriculture. And these people are essential to the economy of our city. And this is why I'm advocating for this community.
And I just also, you know, want you to know, our discussions with the staff, I asked them to fund their service for you to deliver, for the city to deliver the next fiscal year, while we kind of work on the details of whether or not this is something we should do and can. So it's not something we certainly want to come right out and start doing it.
So at least you know my idea now, so.
Yeah. And I don't want to leave Biggs out of this too, because Biggs and Gridley are very closely oriented communities, and that dial-a-ride service or that paratransit service, you know, Gridley and Biggs are incorporated jurisdictions. So the service needs to be able to access and provide access for those citizens. So
Thank you.
I believe it's also worth noting that nowhere in this conversation are we talking about limiting or removing any access to the residents who are already using the flyer. This would just be an expansion of the current services under the Beeline umbrella. And if farm labor housing is a necessary community to reach, then we will find a way to reach them, if we can.
Thank you.
Can I ask another question about something brought up earlier? I wanted to ask what the time frame is on the cashless fare that we expect to do away with.
So we had the new validators for token transit installed on the vehicles last week. So if you board a Beeline bus today, you will see a validator next to the fare box that says coming soon. And those will be turned on so that people can use the new validators rather than the old blue beacons by the end of March, I believe. And once those are turned on, it's really then just a measuring game, if you will, of figuring out how many people are still using cash and what other options we need to provide off board the vehicles so that we can get that cash utilization on board the vehicles to a low enough number where it makes sense to remove the gen fare boxes. It's not overnight.
Okay, great, thanks, because I'm sure there's. Okay.
Councilmember Goldstein, we spoke last year about this, if my memory serves me right, and I was pretty adamant about not getting rid of cash due to the fact that that's just, some people don't have a cell phone, some people don't have that access to another way to get down and purchase a ticket or a punch card or whatever we're gonna use. So are you telling me now that eventually we will not have a cash option on the bus?
Eventually, we will not have gen fare boxes on the bus. The goal has been to remove that technology because it is clunky, it's outdated, and it's expensive to maintain. But there will always be some option for those cash-dependent riders on board the vehicle.
That's it. Thank you.
if they don't have cash,
Get it.
you're right.
Yeah, I get it.
Don't turn anybody away.
No, just don't,
I won't do that.
just don't let that get out.
I don't-
Yeah, expect that in a minute.
Gridley Biggs fixed route expansion. So the earlier item of eliminating Route 52 eliminates hours, service hours. So to make our Transdev operators whole on that, because it impacts labor and drivers, we looked at some other options to replace hours. So one of the things that we're gonna do is we're gonna, at the same time that we start route in Biggs Gridley, start up in the morning at 6:40, we're gonna start a route 6:40 out of Chico, past those. We wanna see how that goes. We have heard some needs for additional service back and forth between grids, Biggs Gridley and Chico, so we're gonna start that, bi-directional route, well, see how that goes. And if there's additional demand on it, then additional demand as a result of hour not being right, or if we change the time that we depart, better for people, we'll work on that as well. Better. Route 5, which is East 8th Street in Chico, is going to go to reinstate to 30-minute headways. We used to have that some time ago. We're going to reinstate 30-minute headways on that route, which people are looking for. And we will do those concurrently with each other. So Route 52 eliminates the day Route 52. Zero emission battery electric and hydrogen. The 5 battery electric buses are due to be here next month. But our chargers are not ready yet. And I had tried real hard to try to get the chargers in place working before the buses showed up. Our switchgear provider, Eaton Electronics panels, are all backlogged. So we are now on about almost at a year delay from the high voltage switch. So it was supposed to be December, March. Now it's been June, July. So our zero emission buses are coming. They're going to be here in late April. And we're gonna try to do as much training as we can with a portable charger, just to kind of get the staff up on them. But I just don't feel confident that you're gonna see them out there in full service probably till the fall. Try to get the chargers in, get them commissioned, get everyone trained on them, and then we'll put the electric buses out there. So 5 of those. I am moving forward with hydrogen fueling as a zero emissions option. I'm getting a little more cautious with it as I learn a little bit more about it. I think we're still going to be able to move forward, but there's a wide range of technologies in hydrogen. Finding the one that doesn't seem like there would be that much variety. That liquid, you got gas, you got high pressure, low pressure. Delivery times, where do you get it, how long does it take to get here, how much do you need, all that stuff that I'm going to be working on over the 2 to 4 months to try to understand that a little bit better and time the ordering of a couple of hydrogen buses here when we actually. So look for that in the, I hate to say it, but probably the first part of 26. Chico Sacramento Commuter Service is something that we have looked at in the past, and there is a demand for Chico to Sacramento. So that in getting some data from the university, a lot of students that go back and forth. From there, it's access really to primary thing. So we're going to look at a Chico Sacramento Commuter Service. That's a system that has to be really sustainable on its own. And it can't be in competition with commercial service. So we want to look at it and see if it's feasible, and if it's feasible, that would be something that would require the purchase of probably up to 3 nicer buses, and have some amenities on them that are worthwhile for people that can on a bus for say 2 hours to get to Sacramento. Howdy, possibly through you to Sutter, down 70, through you to Sutter. I've talked with you to Sutter. Great, they're willing to work with us and help integrate us or or accept us through there. I don't want to step on their toes in terms of the service they provide. And then, you know, a route down 99. So we're talking 70 and 99. Can we feasibly do that on a timetable that works for, hooking up with a pretty reliable train system that comes into Sacramento? And then, you know, can we help provide some level of service for those people that airport, likely through a connection with Sacramento, SAC-RT. They go back and forth between Sacramento. So,
Are there no dollars available now that we're off the whole high-speed rail thing? I mean, I feel like
it's,
we invested so much
Yes.
time and money into that, and then
that's my
only
next,
to
that's the
find
next
out.
item.
But I mean, with the commuter service, like, it seems like we put all our eggs in that basket, and then that basket just entirely went away, and so.
There, just kind of gets off topic a little bit, and falls a little bit into items, the federal funding pause type thing.
Before you get off Sacramento, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have questions.
I do encourage you to look at that, and I know you will. And I know that since the state of California is requiring people to be back at work at least 2 to 3 days a week. So a couple people here in Chico that are driving to Yuba City and then grabbing their buses, which dumps them off down in downtown Sacramento. So, I don't see them going back to 100% at home. So I think that is something that probably needed.
I think it's a reasonable service.
Yeah.
You just have to figure out the best way to do it.
Okay.
What I don't want to do is I don't want to be that person that puts a service out there and find that after a year or two, oh, we can't do it anymore, we can't sustain it. So that's really my biggest charge is let's make sure we can do it and maintain it.
Great, thank you.
Let me add to that too, that Orville Hospital runs 3 buses to Roseville every day. One kicker is there are nicer coach type vehicles, but they also have onboard Wi-Fi, which gives those medical personnel the time to catch up on things and have that, utilize that time other than just riding. So there is that going on, and with the hospital's new opening supposedly next month, it'll be personnel for that.
Wi-Fi is expensive. We're finding that out right now.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
a couple comments on that. I go to Sacramento pretty frequently, state worker. I also have a lot of friends or colleagues who work in the Marysville area, and there's totally an unmet need of service to Caltrans. And so I see a huge potential for this, but I also want to note there's the existing throughway service with, and I frequently use that service to go to Sacramento, but I have to say I'm going to Davis. There's the opportunity to operate that service, just like GABA and Reading operate a section that used to be part of the Amtrak throughway bus, to go Reading to Chico, and so that's something to see.
And we can talk more about that at any time. Come by and we can talk.
Offset the cost of Wi-Fi, maybe you could make it an option for the riders to pay more, because in case the hospital isn't time, in other words, it counts against their time clock, they get paid because they're on the Wi-Fi going to.
Last project, which is very conceptual at this point, we have looked at it in the past, and it does tie in a little bit with the Sacramento routing. It also ties in with us revising our routing over the months and years, and that is a upgrade to the property at 32 and 90. We have in 2020, project study report that property upgraded into 3 or 4 different levels of investment to expand the park and ride function, cars, and able to accommodate those types of activities coming in and out of there. We We have some, call it leftover funding through COVID funding, still hanging around that we need to invest in. And I've talked with Caltrans about getting a cooperative agreement in place to bring that project back around, start looking at it, and see if we can start moving in a direction that develops that property into, I'll just call it, for lack of a better term, a mobility hub. So, a commuter service can leave out of there, multimodal, pets. What can we do at that property? It makes the most sense if we are going to do something, to do it at that property. The expense of doing it, that is anywhere between, I'm going to say $60 and $80 million, if not higher. It's an absolutely large chunk of change. But it pales in comparison to the cost of what we're contemplating for the North Valley Rail project. For now is on hold for us. So I want to explore that too, and see if there's something that we can get going there that realistically expands that property into multimodal. So that's all. That was kind of the update I had for the transit things. And if anyone has any questions, further questions, or wants to come talk about any of this stuff, just call me, come by the office, or.
Yeah, I'd like to add something. I'm kind of an emissary from their office, but Butte College is very interested in having some type of partnership. They're with the president recently, and she asked, would Beeline be interested? So they roughly have about 400 students daily that use their bus service. As you well know very well, that their buses are old diesels and they're electric. President Goff, would you know about that? Having new electric buses is a possibility. So, and I want to bring this up in front of the non-agenda item, but I would be curious if the rest of the board would be interested in developing some type of partnership with Butte College for their student population. As I mentioned, she's very interested she sent me as an emissary to this body to possibly have some topics about it. And I would look to staff to see what's possible in that venue. I don't know if it's been talked about in the past.
It has, and there are some specifics that make do just that part.
Well, we
get a lot of requests like
Yeah.
that, and what we have to be really careful about is providing a specific service with the fixed route system. It's it's subsidized by federal and state funding. You provide a specific population. The line is that population needs to pay for that service. So we've talked a little bit about that, and to date haven't been able to come up with anything that makes good sense that we can do and still get our funding.
Well, I just know from her and some of her board members that are very interested in having a conversation with you. They're kind of at a tipping point now with the whole thing. If they have to have two buses, it's just cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
They can't even recharge them. One and all the other, you know all the problems with.
Yeah.
And Butte College is the last JC in the state that still has a bus system. So it's a kind of a unique conversation, but she's a very willing participant. Yeah.
Instead of in Orville, where it belongs. No.
We'll go there too, I'll hear you.
They're on the original.
It was.
Okay.
Just sorry to run that so long, but
Yeah.
just wanted to kind of get that.
I appreciate the discussion.
Any public comment on this item?
What I do want to say, as far as Butte College is concerned, is that staff from Butte College has reached out to us. I did an analysis of what would happen if we deviated Route 20 or if we created our own route, its own route. And both of those were either cost prohibitive or it screwed up our timetables to the point where it wouldn't make any connections in Orville or Chico make sense. So it's something where if we continue analyzing it, it might not be possible with the current resources that we have. Because that service, that area is just, it takes too much time, if we deviate Route 20, and it becomes cost prohibitive for the college if we don't.
Well, I appreciate that, and Virginia has some real detailed student numbers where they have the pickups and the needs, so it's far ranging, because they even have some in Lake County issues, so I encourage that conversation, and she's really interested in activity.
Is there public comment on any of this? Up again.
Yes,
Federal.
Yeah.
Would you like to speak? Come on up.
yeah. My name's Dan, and I just moved to Paradise. And, do you know, you kept back a little bit on your buses a little bit because of the hours and stuff, but there's more people up there living. In the last, week or two, I get on bus 40 in the morning, coming down, you have the small bus. Very crowded in that thing now. I don't know why you don't go to those blue buses or one of the bigger buses first thing in the morning. And I don't know why you can't get a bus up there at 6:30, 6:50 in the morning to bring people down, go to work earlier, or get some more buses up there. And for the paratransit bus, I understand that, the driver doesn't start until 9:15 up there. What about people that have to get someplace earlier, like 8 o'clock? There's no buses, no transit buses up there that time of morning. And on Saturdays, I like to do things on Saturdays, but there's no parent transit buses up there right now. So, you guys gotta try to help us out some. I do love your services a lot and stuff, but I'm on both your buses, your small ones and your big ones. Stuff, so I do know that, right there at the Paradise, Clark and Bushman, there's a brand new apartment complex opening up. Paradise Gardens, phase 3 just opened up, there's another, 48 units there. You got vets, you got people in wheelchairs, and I know there is a, guys coming up next week to talk to some of the, people in wheelchairs about parent trans bus, but I don't know if you guys realize, there's a 15% incline to get up to, Peterson and Clark, where your regular bus stop is. People in wheelchairs cannot go up that hill by themselves. They have to get pushed up the hill. So, I know you guys are trying to work things out and stuff, but I'll just let you know, there's an incline there. I'd like to see any one of you come up there and get in a wheelchair and see if you can push yourself up that little incline. Yes, well, I've heard that we all over there, that apartment can go up the hill by themselves, which I don't think so. But there's, I just want to bring those to, and when are you guys can go up there and redo your signs? The Paradise Fires, I've been told, 6 months after Paradise, you guys can go up there and redo your signs. Tell you the time and stuff, because right there at the park in Peterson, you have a melted sign where it's supposed to have your times and stuff. I keep hearing that you're gonna go up there, change signs out. I haven't seen that done yet. How many years now has it been since the fire? So, plus, I know you guys just put a brand new sign up saying bus stop, but isn't there a code limit on how high it is? You guys put it by 8 feet high. I thought it's supposed to be down at eye level. Yeah. So, but on that stuff, I know that you guys trying to work things out, but that's me, and I think this other guy he lives in Magala and stuff, trying to get buses up and down. Because sometimes I want to go back at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I can't. I gotta take the Magala bus, get dropped off at the, transit center, and walk all the way back to my house. That's over a 2-mile walk. I'm handicapped. Why can't we get another bus, maybe 2 o'clock, something up to Paradise? Help some of these other people get them down. There's other people up there that want to come down during the daytime, but it's time-wise and stuff, not there just yet. So I'm hoping maybe you guys can work something out. But,
We don't know things, but she,
yes, that's why
if you would kindly give your number to our staff, we will have, who would you like to take it? Or-
Yeah, right over there.
Yeah.
I have his contact.
And,
Yeah,
okay.
they have, some of these people have and stuff, 'cause I've sent some emails in and stuff about it. So,
Well, we appreciate you coming in and telling us that.
Thank you.
That's all helpful stuff.
Does help.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Public comment?
Good morning. My name's Jesse Horgan. I'm the Parking Services Manager for Chico State. In that role, I'm taking on a bit of the transportation responsibilities. I just want to add a couple resources here for the Sacramento possible route. So the university pays for a charter bus to take students back and forth at the start of each semester, end of each semester, and before each break. That bus is absolutely booked every time, and I field a ton of calls from parents asking how they can get their student back and forth to the airport. So happy to coordinate and possibly provide some extension of our current partnership with the Beeline to add funding for the route. Also, we are starting a campaign in the coming semester for the next year to say that you don't need a car if you're a student coming to Chico State. So leave your car at home, come up here, and as part of that, that's a education campaign, how to use the bus. So they're in tandem with the outreach that you're doing with the consultant that you hired. So we will use some of our resources. And so I'm here to make those things happy to partner with you. We are doing a survey right now to see who is interested, who would use a bus service back and forth when they need it, et cetera. That's about to go out. I just submitted all the questions yesterday. So the campus community will gather information, and I'm happy to share that with you.
Good information, helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. I like it. Wait, it always says we have funding. Important.
You're not with Associated Students, though, right?
I am not. So,
I'm just giving you a hard time. No, you're fine. I talked to them too, so.
Any other?
They don't have funding.
Yeah.
Be sure to come back.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Neither do we.
I think they misspell things on purpose. They talk to you when you don't want them to.
Yeah, they do. They're listening too.
Yeah, you need a grapefruit or something. Okay, let's move on then to the next item.
So the next item was, the talk of federal funding pauses and started in late January. And I thought it would be helpful just to think a little bit about if we have anything within our jurisdictions that are potentially impacted, any projects that are happening, road projects, anything that you guys have federal funding with, programmed through us. The best we can tell is that any project that has an existing funding keep going. My advice is keep the reimbursements, those sources, current, so that sometimes the reimbursements if you do it every 30 days, that's about as tight as you can get in. We don't have any indications really right now that, I tried to identify the programs we want to put together, that are projects in the jurisdiction and the affiliated federal programs with them. ATP, CDBG, HUD, there's a congressional directed road, HDR program, a lot of that work with the HDR program. Everything seems to, we haven't heard anything about that stuff being, so, I have heard of late a little bit about, some of our funding, EL funding. That's a legislated one. It shows up in the transportation bill. I think if we're gonna see any major changes that will impact us specifically, with respect to transportation, it probably will show up in the next transportation bill, about in July of 26 when it starts. So, I'll keep an eye on all that stuff. but for the most part, I think we're in pretty good shape. Supervisor Ritter asked about the funding for transit and technologies. We don't have anything currently in process, and we have agreements that are already in place, and we're pending against those agreements. A lot of our funding, lion's share of our funding for a lot of what we're doing in transit is coming from the state. The state is not really slowing that down, that we can tell. I think a lot of it will really depend on, a good point being, the federal government's not gonna fund high-speed rail. That's a pretty good chunk of change. It's a very, very small piece of the overall investment in high-speed rail. Nonetheless, it's, $4 billion that may very well drive the way the entire, rail, high-speed rail, or even any projects affiliated with rail that serve high-speed rail, including our North Valley Rail project. It may drive how those priorities are pursued within the state and what types of projects they end up pursuing. Really haven't heard anything as of yet, but, I'm trying to keep an eye on that too, because even though it's only, $4 billion that they may not be providing to this large effort, it could drive the way the state thinks about how to fund things or to prioritize. So it's not changing anything for us right now. We had already put the North Valley Rail project on the back burner, and I'm still working on getting some confirmation program to use the PERSIP going to use for the project to pivot on that. And I don't want to lose money, use it on something.
So can I ask you, Andy, can you go back a second just on the freeze part? Do we currently have a timeline when we have reimbursable grants where we are paid? So I know you're saying we're billing every 30 days, but is there any kind of timeline prior to the freeze when we could expect, if we submit reimbursables, when we would be paid?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think, and I'm not familiar at all. The county is such a, wide-ranging funding sources, and you may have some other particular issues with your departments. But as far as transportation is concerned, I don't see any real effects for your reimbursement that I have heard. No one has said to us that, because of what's happening, we can't process your reimbursements. What we do here is, if you send an email to someone, I'm no longer with FDA, or I'm no longer with that organization, call a phone number, this phone number is not being met. So there are bodies that are kind of dropping off the radar, at our federal partners, sure.
I guess my question is more, in the past, when we have submit reimbursables, when would we see those dollars come in? Was it another 30 days? Was it 60 days? Was it 90 days?
6 months to a year.
6 months to a year. So we wouldn't even know. I mean, we're continuing to stay on top of our reimbursables and billing them every 30 days, but we wouldn't even know, maybe a year later, whether or not it's reimbursed.
Yeah, it's
possible.
some of our billing per se is drawdown. So if we have the agreement in place, submit our bill and request the drawdown, someone at the other end does have to push the button to allow you to get
Quite
it.
honestly, the federal money comes pretty quickly because it is through a drawdown system. The money that takes 6 months to a year is federal money that goes through Caltrans. That's where the slowdown is. That's what takes, sometimes up to a year. And they went through a bad stretch, and they're a little better now. So it's closer to the 6 month period these days. But, yeah.
So
If
it's
the
not
state
gonna
of
change anything
California,
that we do.
if the state of California is getting the federal money,
like we're getting the federal money directly. And theoretically, that money is sitting there and will be distributed to us. It just has to go through hurdles.
Okay, we're gonna get fined by air quality for taking their time.
I just wanted to,
We'll take, public comment on anything not on the agenda.
I just wanted to add and confirm, none of your federal.
$5. Go ahead. Okay, Julie.
None of the federally funded transportation projects are impacted by the news that's coming from the feds. Could be in jeopardy would be, funding programs that target climate change, like carbon reduction program types of funded projects. In our case, the board approved, approximately $2 million that went to City of Chico's downtown complete streets projects. That project has an authorization to proceed, a contract to get reimbursed. Those funds are not in jeopardy. It's other areas that have not received that promissory reimbursement note from the feds. Those could be in jeopardy. So nothing in the Butte region is impacted. One other thing that may be of interest is the flooding on Highway 99 North. Caltrans has the project slated for construction for improvement next fiscal year. There was a holdup. FEMA is in charge of NEPA clearance, and I know Caltrans District 3 has been going back and forth with them. That's an approximate $12 to $15 million improvement, and that is from Wilson Landing to Kiefer Slough. So that should be happening this year.
Okay, public comment? Anything that's not on the agenda?
I got a quick one, real quick. City of Orville just got a new pavement management system software, and the presentation came to us. Our roads aren't terribly bad, but to really fix them up, we need $155 million. Take care of it. Somebody got a check? But it's nice to have a rating system for all the roads. It's really.
Okay, the next meeting will be Thursday, March 27th. See you later. Cool.
I was gonna come down last month, but I
No, I was just gonna run up to Friday.